As we talked about earlier, Governor Lamont reappointing Marissa Gillett as the head of PURA, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. And I don't know, what was it? What was your quotation? It's as baffling as it is predictable. Is that an accurate representation? The question I have, and listen, we've talked a lot about it, and I generally speaking, I know where you're standing, and you'll let the public know, but, in your mind, as you view the governor, why would he, does he just assume it's going to go away? Is he putting his neck on the line for this? What is, you think, his thought process?
Yeah, I think he's sort of facing paralysis. I think anybody who sees what is going on has to realize that it's not going well at PURA, but he doesn't have a lot of options because the commission is not fully constituted. There's only 2 members that have appointments. That's Dave Arconti and Marissa Gillett. So he only has 2 individuals to choose from to become chairman. So I wasn't surprised that this is the outcome, but I'm not sympathetic. I think the governor's done this to himself. I've been saying for 2 years he's got to make all the appointments, which are 5, to that board. And I think Marissa has really betrayed him. I think he believes she's a bright individual, which she is, that she was doing things that were in the best interest for the state of Connecticut and ratepayers. And what we're slowly finding out is that there's just a lot of deception and I think bias that's going on in the decision making. And I think the governor's realizing that and is sort of stuck, however.
So I don't know that, activism against utilities is a partisan thing, but somehow I don't know that it seems like it's become that. And we're talking with Vincent Candelora, the House Minority Leader here on Brian and Company. And I just don't understand how. I know the position is supposed to be neutral. And, and and she's sort of become an activist in a lot of ways, just pushing back on just about everything from the utilities. But, I think it sort of speaks to the larger problem here. It's that, we look at utilities as a right and not a privilege, but these are for-profit companies, yet, we have all these requirements. I just feel like there's so many other problems with the way we deal with energy and power and the consumer that this is just part of the problem. And people push back and say, well, she's responsible for only a part of the bill that people get every month. Are we making too big a deal of this element, or do you think it's a reflection of larger values at play?
No, I do think there's a problem here. If you look at other states with high electric costs, they don't have the volatility and the regulatory environment that Connecticut has. And I think we certainly want to hold electric companies responsible, and there's a way to do that. But I think what we've seen is we want our adjudicators, our judges, to be impartial. And I think that there's been a lot of decisions and things that have been done that just do show a bias where there cannot be impartiality. If Marissa Gillett, hates our utility companies and is, quote, out to get them, we're going to have a result that in the long run isn't good for ratepayers. And what we're seeing in Connecticut is the utility companies have divested from our state. Over $500 million a year is no longer being invested in Connecticut. And so you're going to see the grid start to suffer. Long-term rates will go up. You're also seeing the bonding, them being downgraded. That's going to increase cost. And then there's a lot of policies that are being made that are being implemented to raise costs, which I don't believe are good. She's unilaterally made decisions that we all need to pay each other's electric bill. So if you can't afford to pay it, or if you're on DSS subsidies, you automatically don't have to pay your bill. And then that winds up on my bill and your bill, and that raises rates. So there's decisions that have been made that I don't think are good under her watch. But then it's concerning to see that she's violating the law by deleting text and not being transparent in that decision making.
Yeah, that part of it, again, without knowing the story, and the governor said basically, don't jump to conclusions. But in the absence of any other information, I have no other choice, right? It just seems. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one conclusion is that she's admitted to deleting government documents, essentially. Those messages are supposed to be in the public realm. They're supposed to be retained for people to review. And the question is, why did you set up a scheme where your communications automatically get deleted? And I think that speaks to the bigger problem.
Well, right. This is why, since we're tight on time, this is where we get to like the sort of the what happens next, because I deal with technology. We actually have Tech Tuesday with Eric Semmel. Those things aren't gone, right? And so you have a decision to make, or Eversource, or who in the lawsuit, or whomever. Like, if you want to find them, they can be found. And my question to you, and you can answer for yourself or your caucus or what have you, is what happens next? Because if honestly, if they subpoenaed the telecommunications company, they could get those texts. And so, I believe that's the case, because I know that even on Snapchat or whatever, nothing's ever truly gone. So, what do you think you are going to do moving forward, or your caucus, or do you think Eversource? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, I think it's going to play out in court. That information, the courts are going to be looking at and making a determination: is this individual biased, and does she need to recuse herself from all the utility cases? If that happens, we're going to have to deal with that in the future. For me personally, I think that the legislature needs answers in what she did and why she lied to us. I mean, she did not produce these documents when I asked for them, and lied by omission by not telling me that she actually deleted them. Why did it take a court case to actually get her to admit that she deleted those documents? Instead, she wanted me to believe they didn't exist, and she got through the nomination process. Now she's coming clean on what's actually happened. So I don't like that level of deceit. I don't think it's unnecessary. I think she's created a problem for herself that she didn't need to create. If she was honest in the beginning, we wouldn't be asking these questions.